All right, everyone, we are live. Hello, and welcome to our live show discussion to talk about The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Hooray! So a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into our thoughts and a spoiler-free discussion. Then we'll go into spoilery discussions. So we are for May, we were going to read The Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart, but we're having some stock issues with copies not really being available in Australia at all. So we're going to make that our May and June book of the month. So we'll have the live show towards the end of June and share more details about that later. But just an FYI on that front. And now let's dive into The Once and Future Witches. So I just finished a minute ago, as is my style. Yeah. But
Michelle's dropped out. She'll be back, I think.
Yeah, she's having internet issues. But yeah, let's go around the screen and share our star ratings and general thoughts. Jean, did you want to start?
Yeah,
okay, Jean,
sure.
Kick it off.
It'll be quite quick because I listened to the audiobook and I liked how it started. And then I DNF'd it at 40% because I just couldn't continue with it. Yeah. I looked at the audiobook and I'm like, oh my God, there's 5 more hours left and I just can't. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, a DNF rating for me.
All right.
Short and sweet.
Very good. Very good. Kaz, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
You go.
I go. Okay. I finished this not 5 minutes ago, but a week ago, I think. And I, sorry, no, not sorry. I gave it 4 stars. I gave it a solid 4. I mean, I've read Alex's previous work, 2000 January, which I really enjoyed as well. And this one was just like a really nice, like a great kind of like follow-up from her previous work. I thought it was like a fantastic historical fantasy that she's really put together, a really fabulous story, like that ties both like folk tales and like the suffragette movement and women's rights as well as like a lot of like female anger and like pulling it all together into this like really great story about sisterhood. And yeah, I just loved it. It was great. But I did have a couple of issues with pacing as well as like just a few tiny little tidbit thingies that I had gripes with. But other than that, that's really my spoiler-free thoughts on that one.
Lovely. Sorry, I was just hopping onto my hotspot because I think my internet was also having some problems. But I think I pretty much agree with you. I'm sitting at a 4-star rating for this one. I really liked the writing. I thought it was really beautiful, and I liked the characters. We have a very rich and interesting cast of characters, and I just liked getting to know all the sisters independently, and the relationships, like the different dynamics between all of them and their histories, and kind of just exploring how magic works. And I found that really interesting and seeing a lot of ties to fairy tales and folklore. So yeah, solid 4 stars from me.
Rochelle,
what
you there?
Do you think, Rochelle?
Good. I like we went live and my internet immediately was like, nah, not today, no. Bro. Good
not
try.
No.
Nice shot. I also gave I was just like, why?
I'm done.
Why?
I'm out of here.
I just want to hang out with my bookish friends. Let me live.
Let me live.
Tell us what you thought.
So I also gave it 4 stars for. I listened to the audiobook, and so I've found reading it, there was a lot of different voices. So that really helped me connect with the characters, especially when during some intense and emotional scenes later on in the book, it really fleshed that out and gave it a solidness that I don't know if I would have had if I had read the physical book. There were a couple of things that I had like minor issues with. I think Sophia also mentioned something at the end of her little bit about some of those. But overall, I did enjoy it. I liked how it subverted a lot of our expectations about witches in that time period and magic in general, and changed the way that we might go back and view some of the previous folklore and mythology and fairy tales that we know from that period, and see maybe a different take on some of the children's rhymes, etc., that we learn. So yeah, that's my thoughts. 4 stars.
Delightful. Is there anything kind of non-spoilery that we wanted to talk about before jumping into the nitty-gritty details? Did you have like a favorite sister or a particularly favorite scene that you wanted to chat about?
I did like well the one thing.
The one
What do you remember?
The one thing
You remember the 40% that you read.
Oh gosh, I did like how there were those fairy tales weaved in. I didn't really like at the point where I read, I didn't know how they related to the plot, so I'm keen to hear you know, like you guys' thoughts on it, on how it links in, but I thought that was really interesting as well. Yeah. But I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. Like it started off really strong and then I just felt maybe it was those pacing issues. It just felt like I guess I kind of expected more of a fantasy. But then I felt like it was very historical. You know, about the town of Salem and stuff like that. And I think that's what made it stutter for me. As well as like the sisters as well. I just wasn't that interested in each of them at that point. So yeah, I gave it a good shot.
Oh, you did. You did. You really did give it a good shot. I think with the sisters, well, the thing is, what I loved was like how everything's in threes. Like that's just something that's like, it's like there's so many motifs throughout the story that that you're like the number 7, the number 3, and all these kinds of things. And what I loved about the 3 sisters is that they are so different, and yet they are just bound together just by their blood. If I had to pick my favorite, well, here's the thing. I wish I was like June. I wish I was like June, but I'm very much more like Bella. I'm very much more like her. Anyway, yeah, that's just how I am. I'm like, I wish I was June. I wish I could go out then, like literally, like try and just kill a man. Like I'll just go and like just kill men, just do all these kinds of crazy things.
Wow.
No consideration for the consequences that would happen. But I'm very much more like Bella, where I sit like down and like think about what I'm gonna do. Be like, okay, I have to plan it all out. I have to read things before I do it. So yeah, that's But I also did love Agnes. She was fantastic. I loved her. I just really loved her as well. It was great. Don't want to say anything without spoiling things about her.
It's hard to discuss certain things. I connected with the sisters. Like I saw myself, like a little piece of myself in all of them. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite. Like I've definitely got that studiousness, love for books that Bella has, but I also have that like fierce motherly protectiveness that Agnes has. And then I can definitely get a bit like June, where if I'm angry, I'm just, you don't want to get in that way. Like my nickname in my like real life friend group is Mama Bear. So you don't want to piss Mama Bear off.
Don't piss Mama Bear
it's
off.
a bad time for you. So I found it hard to I find it hard to pick a favorite, but I did really enjoy the way that we explored what sisterhood means in a familial sense, a community sense as well, and like in a way that we learn from it being passed down from older sisters down to younger sisters. It was that was a theme that I really enjoyed being explored in the group.
Yeah, I also really liked the the concept of witches and the way it was explored, how like, yeah, it's like the idea that we have of witches was in a way subverted, but also then explored in its traditional sense as well. Yeah, I really liked that. But again, I don't want to say anything. But I keep trying to say something. I'm like, no, that's a spoiler.
It's like that's a spoiler, kind of like I could like,
kind of spoiler. I don't want to.
Exactly. It's hard
it's like we can tiptoe around it, but like it's nice to see it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think something. Yeah. Oh, she's there. No, she's there. She's there. Okay,
I'm again. It's okay. I like froze for a second. I was like, am I going again? I'm fine. It's okay.
How about you,
I feel like I'm on the same sort of page. I was asking myself this question halfway through the book, and I couldn't really choose a favorite because each of the sisters are so different in really good ways, and I think it really rounded out the story and their relationships in just the fact that they each contributed something very different to the whole plot, and also that sense of family. And I don't think I actually can pick a favorite because I like different elements of each of them, and I think they were all perfectly flawed in all of the right ways. Like it made a lot of sense, their motives and why they did the things they did, even if sometimes it was upsetting, but it made total sense and it all felt really true to their characters. And I mean, we'll definitely talk about some of these scenes in more detail, but there were some really great scenes I was like holding out for since the very beginning of the book, and when those happened and actually seeing them communicate some things, it was very
How do I
satisfying.
say it?
Yeah, it's like, hello.
Yeah, it's like it's good the way that we did end up getting that discussion about some things that happened in the past for them, that it's like you can see that this is really impacting their relationship at the beginning of the story. It's nice to know that we got that resolution in the end.
Yeah, because I feel like that's definitely also something that's just kind of super realistic, misunderstandings and miscommunications and people kind of misremembering things as well, and how that can have a really lasting effect if you're not open and communicating. I mean, with how things went down, they weren't really given a platform to communicate about everything.
They weren't given an opportunity to talk about it.
Exactly. And then just seeing like a lot of that bitterness fester for 7 years. But at the same time, when these sisters are reunited at the start of the book, they're inseparable pretty much. I really like that emphasis on family and how they still care about each other, even if there are some wounds that need to be tended to.
Yeah, it's like just like the first chapter. Like, I don't think this is really a spoiler, considering like it's not. I will not consider the first chapter a spoiler. But like the fact that how dare you? Yeah, but like considering like in the first chapter, like the way that she introduces each of the sisters is so like yeah, like she has such a lyrical way of describing things, and it's just like and how she's able to do is she's able to pull the threads together and merge them in such a beautiful way. So like you have each of the three introduced, and then the way that they all meet tied into one fantastic moment. And it just kind of like this explosion of like,
I loved that because I just, again, it's very lyrical with like the word choices, but also just the formatting of the writing as well, the way that she does those kind of loops through those three sections that mirror each other when you're meeting the characters at the very start, but then they also do that again later on in the book, drawing parallels to other people.
Draw parallels as well as like drawing parallels to like different fairy tales that she rewrites, which I think is really cool. She just drew a lot of links and created this really complex web where everybody, every story is interconnected in some way, and just kind of emphasizes the fact that the past tends to repeat itself. And
It was, yeah.
There's so many metaphors.
Every
yeah.
time that there was like another plot line connected, I was just thinking of the meme with the guy with the board just being like, "It's a thing."
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that's
this
it.
is what's
Yeah.
happening. This is what was happening in her brain.
Yeah. I gotta say, it is definitely a really atmospheric book as well.
Oh, yeah.
It just felt so rich and like very autumn vibes.
It was,
It was a
very
great
autumnal.
choice for the time of year.
Yeah. For us down under.
For us down under, yeah.
Yeah.
Just going through a few of the comments. Just flagging that, yes, this will be saved on my channel afterwards, so you can come back later. Oh, this is a good point. Does anyone want to do an elevator pitch of the book for those of you who haven't, well, for those watching who haven't actually read it yet?
Rochelle, off you go. She actually literally freezes as I said it. Oh god.
And I'm frozen.
Literally.
Oh,
you're
yeah,
frozen,
but
I
I
can't
can't
hear
see
you.
Oh,
Oh no, there you are.
All right.
internet.
All right. Let's move.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Internet. We love it.
I mean,
just
okay.
immediately.
I know it's not working for you today as well.
Throw Rochelle under the bus, and then it's just like
I know,
no
and
internet. Just
The internet was like, I'm gonna save you from that. Never mind.
Nope.
Wow.
And in front of the bullet for me, it's just like, no.
No, you just see Rochelle like turning off her Wi-Fi mode and being like, sorry, no, thank you.
I wish.
I can't
I
hear
don't
you.
have that kind of timing. I would just be like, oh shit. At least my internet's got good comedic timing. Like, thank you, appreciate.
Very solid, very solid.
Appreciate it. Well, yeah, did you want to do an elevator pitch or want to, me or Kaz can do it as well?
Fucking one of you is going under the bus. It's not me. The second I start talking, my internet will crash again.
I feel okay. I'll try and give it a go, but I feel I didn't really do it justice when I was filming my book haul talking about it. But it's set in the late 1800s in New Salem, which is a town that was built after Old Salem was pretty much burnt to the ground because of witchcraft. And magic doesn't really exist anymore, at least not to the extent it did like a couple of centuries ago. But we have the Eastwood sisters who we meet at the start of the book and all find themselves converging in St. George's Square in New Salem. And there's an interesting tower that just pops up out of the blue. And I'm not going to go into more details about the plot specifically, but I guess it's kind of like they join the suffragette movement, fighting for women's rights, but in particular that is really interwoven with witches' rights as well, and kind of, you know, fighting for the women who aren't just doing the bidding of men and who aren't behaving as they should and are willing to speak up and making noise about it and just not bowing down to the mayor, the men in New Salem, and by extension the world, I guess. And yeah, trying to bring magic back. That's what I got.
That was good. Well done.
That was really good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that was good.
I think we might start delving into spoiler territory because we've been skirting around a few things that I think we're keen to discuss. But I would I think most of us here would definitely recommend giving it a go and picking it up. And you can definitely come back and watch the rest of this stream once you've read it. So thanks, Christy, for asking for the elevator pitch. And now, going into spoilers. Can I just say, I was crying like a baby on the bus. That scene where Bella and Agnes actually figure out what happened that fateful day before they were both shipped off. I was...
Oh my god, yes.
Tears of joy that they were finally like, oh, look, they did it. Like, Bella didn't betray you, you know? Oh god, that
was never Bella. Yeah, what I thought was so like that moment as well was just kind of like you could just like I was so happy, but also so mad by it all, because I was like, of course, it was a freaking guy that just ruined their entire relationship. Yeah,
Men!
I was like,
Men,
I can hate
the
men.
worst.
Yeah, this whole book just screams I hate men, but not really. It doesn't really scream I hate men.
Not August Lee.
No.
August
never
Lee,
August.
my beautiful
August
summer
is-
baby. Love him so much. Literally the bar scene when Agnes walks in and is like, teach me like men's magic. And he's like, no, I can't teach you men's magic because like you're a woman. And she's like, well, I'll prove it. And I was like, oh, yo. She just shatters the entire bar. I was like, the queen. I love you.
And
he's like,
really
wow, I love her.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of talking on that, I really liked how it explored the fact that magic isn't just for female witches. Like men have the ability to use magic as well, and how a lot of there is men's magic as well, and how that's been characterized just based off of the spells that they have been taught. Like it's not inherently men's magic, it's just been whatever they've been taught for generations. Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciated the fact that it was like, actually, you know what, anyone can be a witch, anyone has the ability if they have the words, the ways, and the will. I loved that's how
I loved
magic.
that. Yeah,
I really, really enjoyed that.
I really loved it, and I loved what I also loved was the words element, as how all the words came from fairy tales, from folklore, and they're all written in rhymes and things like that. And I thought that was so cool. And also the fact that Alex then just kind of changes the way the fairy tales have been written. Like she changes it from Brothers Grimm to Sisters Grimm. She changes she changes the way the narratives work. And usually what am I trying to say? But it's she kind of skews everything towards the female characters in the stories, rather than I guess guy saving the day or whatever it is that would have happened in those fairy tales.
And it's almost as if it's showing that history's been written by men, and the stuff that we it's kind of subverting the stuff that we know and being like, actually it was women who did a lot of this, but it's all been rewritten to highlight men or make them men, if you know what I mean. They're responsible for these things, where in actual fact women. And I liked that element as well.
I really liked that. Yeah. There are so many things I want to talk about, but I just cannot remember any of them right now. So, Rochelle or Jean, if you have anything you want to discuss while I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Why did you can you tell us about why you DNF'd, or any particular things that would have been spoilery that contributed to that?
I don't know. I just wasn't interested. I haven't read her first book yet, but I think for me, it was the way that it was written. It was hard for me to. It's really beautiful and descriptive, but it was hard for me to really grasp what she was going on about. And I think I struggle with those types of stories, the Starless Sea, which I struggled with.
That's it's very fantastical fantasy, that one. And it's written in a way that I do see why it would have been tricky, kind of immerse yourself in it, because it's, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I guess for me, if I gave it, I think I gave it a good go, because I was like, come on, I just need to really find out what's happening and everything. But in the first 40%, there wasn't really anything witchy for me to grasp. It was more setting the scene and hey, this woman's getting burned at the stake. Did that happen? I think
No one at the start.
I can't really remember that much about it. But I guess I'm a really character-driven reader as well. So for me, for each of the sisters, I couldn't connect to any of them. So when I looked at my audience, I'm like, I just that made me DNF it. So
that's okay. That's fine.
Is the first book similar or quite different?
It's a very different story in that regard. very different, and I would say that the writing may be a little bit similar, but story is completely different. Like, it's so different. It's also just like kind of like, yeah.
Because I'll probably still give it a go. But yeah, I probably won't race to it after experiencing her writing this one.
Experiencing her writing. Oh my God.
What else was I going to say? Oh, so I'm curious, Sophia, what are some of the things that you did take issue with?
Okay, so one thing I took issue with was like once June is like in the deeps, like as soon as we get to that, like the pacing just kind of like went completely sideways for me. Like, because up until that point, things are like, you know, quite steady. Like, you're going at a steady pace, and then you get to like that bit, and you're just like, okay, like, you know, things are starting to happen. But then like the pacing kind of just goes like all the way up like this. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, but I didn't realize we're at the climax. Like, the climax isn't here. Like, what's going on? And then, yeah, then like the last, like, I think I would say like 100 pages, I felt was quite rushed, in my opinion. Like, I thought that like the whole thing with Gideon Hill and the confrontation, as well as like kind of like and everything to do with like Avalon and all those kinds of things, that all kind of happens in such a short period of time that I felt like there was room for that to kind of be expanded upon and fleshed out and kind of like had like more in there, because I just thought that I wasn't given like, or as like as a reader, like I wasn't kind of given everything that I could have been given for that part of the story. And if anything, it could have even have been 2 books. Like, I felt like it could have like cut off with June and the Deeps, and then kind of left on a cliffhanger, and then had a second book that goes into all of that and explored more on like Avalon and the library, and maybe like more on Gideon's backstory and all those kinds of things. But everything just felt quite rushed. Like, that was really my biggest gripe.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the things that I had issue with. Like, that last 100 or so pages, I was like, this should have been a duology. Like, this should have been 2 books. Like, we had one in Climax. We should have stopped there and then moved into a second book.
I agree.
Sure.
Yeah. It was getting to like that 3/4 of the way through it, Mark, and I was like, there's still so much to be resolved. And like, we were given pieces of information. I was like, but I want to know more about this. Like, I want to actually delve into this quite deeply. So I agree. I think it would have been really cool to see it as a duology and fleshed out a lot of that, because
Yeah, like, especially given how slow the beginning is, like, you know, it kind of like set things up for me, like, oh, okay, so this is going to be one of those stories that, like, you know, gives you all of those details, like, and you're going through the journey with the sisters and all those kinds of things. And then, yeah, like, once you get to like the part where they discover Avalon and all those things, like, everything just kind of shoots up like exponentially, and I'm like, this just felt weird.
Like, all the new elements didn't have the same amount of time given to like setting it up and making sure we were ready to have it in the story, kind of thing. That didn't, that's not what
like, and all,
I mean,
it didn't give those parts time to breathe. Like, we didn't get to sit with it and get used to those elements. We were just immediately like, all right, and on to the next thing.
Yeah, it all just feels almost like a bit of a blur, like with like, you know, Agnes giving birth, and then like the baby being taken, and then all these kinds of things. It all happens within like 50 pages, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what is happening?
There's so much happening. Agnes's birth, like all of it's like in a very short chunk of time, and we're not given time to like sit there and think about it, experience it, grieve for the things that are happening, be excited for other things that are happening. It's just like bam, bam, bam. No, you don't have time to feel those feelings. You have to move on to the next thing.
I just thought that it just wasn't, like, she could have done a lot more. Like, I honestly don't know if they maybe just told her, this is too long, cut it down, or something like that. But I just felt that, like you said, it wasn't given the space to breathe. It wasn't given the space to like for the readers to kind of like go through the motions with it in a way that was like worthy of what was happening, because there was so much happening. And I also did think that, like in a way, like she like rushes the whole thing with like the library, with the burning, and the ending also felt really odd to me because it just happens so quickly. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, I would have liked, one of the gripes I had with it was I would have liked a little more time with Cleo and her
The daughters.
clique. Her daughters. I would like to have sat there and like found out more about them and like what their thing is and how they're going to approach this, what their philosophy is. And then like we have some time in the library, but almost immediately we lose it. And I would have liked more time to see like how magic is conceived of in other cultures as well. Like with Cleo, there was some Eastern Russian things like sprinkled in there. I would have liked to have explored more of that rather than just our like the Western kind of focus that we had.
Yeah, I agree. And in particular with the daughters, like I think it was like a really important aspect to have the fact that there is this big community in New Salem of Black witches, and how they're hesitant to get involved because being women, but also Black women, like the stakes are a lot higher for them, and the repercussions, like, you know, this foot of man will stamp down a lot harder on them.
Literally.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting and important thing to include, and I just kind of wish that we could have had the opportunity to get to know the daughters more, because we only see Cleo and Araminta, her mother, and I feel like we don't really properly meet many other of the Black witches, which I would have loved to see more of.
Yeah, I also think that like it was interesting seeing the dynamic between Cleo and Bella, and then like Cleo's mother with the Sisters of Avalon, because she's very clearly like, this is like white feminism. Like this is very much like a white feminist group. We don't like, which is why that scene where she's like, we're not gonna sign up, like we're not joining you in this, because this is like your, in a sense, like crusade. We can't fit in this because it's not something that we can do. It's it's for you, not for us. And I thought that was a really great distinction for her to make, because throughout the entire, like up until that point, it is very much white feminism, and the suffragette movement is very much rooted in white feminism. So that was interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen more of them. Maybe have an entire book on them. I would like an entire book on them. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or like a novella. Give me something a little bit more.
Give me a little taste.
Yeah.
Give me like a novella, and then have Cleo and Bella like happily like just together.
Just wiping it up.
A beautiful sapphics.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it.
Was so
and when
cute.
Cleo proposes, oh
my god, I died.
When she went back and she found the ring.
It was beautiful.
That's good.
If there's anything that I'm sad you missed, Jean, it's that. It's how Cleo and Bella, their storyline in particular. I really, really loved it.
Love a good sapphic romance.
Yeah. Oh, and
yes, it was a very great sapphic romance.
We had a
Jenny.
Bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was almost tacked on, like in a way.
I do, because I think they kind of half planted some seeds early on, but it just made it look like maybe she had betrayed them or something else had happened, but it didn't really weave smoothly early enough on. So I kind of wished that had been fleshed out earlier.
So that could have been.
We could draw that conclusion ourselves almost, but.
Yeah, and it would have actually been good to maybe like go into more about like trans women that were joining the suffragette movement, or that were joining the witches and just being like, no, look, I want to be a part of this. And then that could also then lead to the discussion of like, is there men's and women's magic, or is it just magic? Like, or is it like just witchcraft? Like, it doesn't have to have a gender associated with it. It is what it is.
Just how societally the different genders have used it historically. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
It would have also been cool to see what, like, sorry, no, you go.
No, you're good. I just, like, personally, I wish that had been explored more, because I don't think, like, we had that reveal and then there wasn't really, like, any focus on it. Like, we didn't come back to it. Like, June didn't really come back and be like, no, you're a woman, you belong here, this is your place. Like, there was just this reveal and June felt weird about it, and then we didn't come back to it, and I would like to have returned to that and left it in a better place.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, something that she could have done was, like, was it Jenny? Is it Jenny or Jeannie? I can't remember how you say her name, but, like, she could have, like, you know, revealed a spell and then been like, someone said, oh, but that's men's magic. Or it could have been something like that. And it could have been something that she was taught.
Yeah, because it was strange, because it did mention in the reveal, it did kind of allude to the fact that they didn't remember it, if that makes sense. Like, it said...
Yeah, because because Jenny's the one that introduced August to the group, I think.
Yeah.
That's right. So
she
knew men's magic.
So Juniper recalls the delight on Jenny's face the first time she worked women's witching, and the silent clench of her jaw when they accused her of men's magic. So I think there was a small scene, but it was very fleeting.
It was very easy to throw away. Like, it
wasn't that I didn't realize it was there.
Yeah. I wish it had been like a bigger focus for that particular.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think there's just so many things that were really important, and I love that they were included. But if we'd had that second book, made it a duology, we would have had the space and the time to fully flesh those out and make more of a discussion about them.
Or just make it a bigger book. Just make it a thicker book, you know?
Make it priory.
Yeah.
Priory.
Like 800 pages, baby. Let's go.
Even still, I'm like, I would read more Priory.
I would read more Priory. Like, yeah. I had something else I wanted to mention, but I need to now pick through my brain to remember it.
I think it would be interesting to go back and reread this now, knowing like the general plot line, so I could sit down and like focus on more of the details, because this is one of those books that is so incredibly detailed. I think that you could go back later on and find way more and just keep revisiting it and finding new things.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be interesting to go back and see.
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I just remembered like a really small scene where it's like, obviously he's not the baby daddy, but the guy who helped Agnes get pregnant in the courtroom when he was like calling her a whore and like anyone could really be the father, and she just looks at him with a bored face. I was like, yes.
I love her.
She's just like, ew, you're not even worth a reaction or the time of day. You're scum on this earth.
Disgusting. Disgusting. Yeah. Yes, August leaves. Love him. Sweet baby. Too pure for the world. I don't want him to ever be hurt by anybody. Anyone.
I really, because I really like the fact that obviously he is really taken with Agnes from the start, and he is willing to fight, but also respects her when she's like, no, this is too much, like back off, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it gives her the space because obviously she's also pregnant and dealing with. Like, he's quite aware of everything that she's going through. So I liked that he wasn't too pushy, but he was like, I'm here if you need it. And then...
It's like a netball. Here if you need. Here if you need. Let's go. I'm on the corners. Please give me the ball if you need it. Yeah.
Please, I'm here.
I'm here. I will help.
I also liked that her being pregnant did not faze him in any way,
Mhm.
which would be such a huge thing in that time period. Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
her being unwed and pregnant to someone else would be such a huge turn off for most men during that time period.
Such a
But he was
scandal.
just like, baby's mine. I'll raise her. I'll love her. Doesn't matter. Your baby is
she's
my baby. And I'm just like,
it's so sweet. Oh, she's also like something I wanted to talk about actually was Gideon Hill and how he like kind of like cheats death. I thought that was so weird. Like it was like, and I also loved how like she then tied his whole character into a fairy tale in the end. Like you realize what it is. Like I think I picked up on it pretty early, but I was like, yeah, like I know exactly who he is. And the way she rewrote the Hansel and Gretel story was really cool. But like I thought it was so weird that he like, you know, would like jump to different bodies through time and just adopt a similar name. I was like, this is so bizarre to me. But then like at the end, like are we going to talk about June and what she does at the end? Because I was absolutely devastated when she did that. When
that
she
messed me
realized
up.
that like he had Eve's hair and was
I know.
and like he was planning to go into Eve's body. I was like, and she's like, nope, can't do that, and just I was like,
I also, just a really small side tangent, I love how she falls so deeply and so passionately into the role of auntie, and she just like is like, Eve is also my everything.
Just a big also like that baby is mine.
Yeah,
that was you could just see it coming, and you're like, but surely they'll find a way out of this. But you're like, but really, no, there isn't. But oh my god, is it happening? Is this how we're ending it?
Yeah, like, and the fact that her sisters are trying so hard to like find a way to like prevent it or to stop it from like being permanent in a way. And they can't. They're just like, well, they can't. Like it is.
And
this is
all
what
the
has to happen.
Susan tries to get her. Oh my god, that was
so
very
many
intense.
feelings. That was so intense. And also like, when I'm trying to remember what they revealed Gideon's familiar to be, because wasn't his mother? It was his mother, right? Or did I imagine that? Or like imbued with part of his mother, because there was something to do with his mother.
Juniper was like, I didn't realize what your dog was, but I don't think it's. I was like, oh, is it alluding to that, or is it just the fact that it is a familiar? I don't know if it actually is another. I think it's just his familiar.
Yeah. Okay.
That was. I also had that thought as well, and I was like, oh wait, no, I think it's just the familiar.
But he also like had it on such a tight leash, like literally a tight leash.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't able to do anything that it wanted to do. Like also the fact that she gets her familiar as she's dying. I was like, oh
I know.
What the fuck? She's just like, are you shitting me? She's so mad. She's like, are you joking? Like this is the worst timing ever.
Yeah.
The fuck.
Like,
actually, no, I do like the scene when they get her
for like 2 minutes and then I'm dead.
I do like how like they get her out of the deeps and like that's when when Bella or Agnes gets their familiar first, and the first thing she says was like, "What the fuck? Like how? Like,
it's like,
you serious? You got it for me?" Yeah, and I'm just like,
and I felt so hard the sisterly vibes at that point, because it was just like, absolutely, if I was June in that moment and my sister got her familiar before me, 100% that would be the exact reaction I have. I would be like, are you kidding me?
I know.
Like, are you being serious?
She's just so fiery and willing to like go down in a blaze of glory, taking down the patriarchy with her, and then she's like, my sisters who I had to like beg and plead and persuade to join this, they get the familiars first. Rude. Yeah. Oh,
that was funny.
Oh, June.
Oh, June. I loved her though. It was great. Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, just like fucking the ballsiness of snake stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just so good. So good.
So good. So
Take no prisoners.
Oh, I don't think I have anything else I wanted to mention, unless it comes into my head. But I also have anything I want to discuss.
Sorry, is it just me? I didn't hear that properly. Sorry.
Yeah, you were real quiet.
Oh, was I quiet? Oh, I just said I don't think I have anything else I want to discuss. But I really enjoyed this book, despite my gripes.
I do think it was a really solid book. Hold on. I'm just looking through what I've annotated.
I did really enjoy the rewritten like little fairy tales dropped in between the chapters. I was just like, can I have a whole book of this, please, for my daughters whenever I have them? I would like this, not whatever nonsense I'm going to have to deal with.
And I know that Jean, you mentioned that earlier, and I think it kind of ties into like fleshing out the world, and like how witching, like, and the way witching works, and the fact that a lot of it did like kind of the Sisters Grimm versus what we know as the Brothers Grimm. So I think it's kind of fleshing out that a lot of things have been rewritten through history, and also showing how a lot of the spells have been interwoven in fairy tales.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
But were they just random fairy tales kind of dropped in, or did it relate to that certain scene?
Not really. Oh, sometimes it did. Sometimes they were like a metaphor for things, or it was simply a fact that one character was like, tell me a story, and that's the story that character told them at that point in time. So I think it was kind of like
a lot of them had metaphors for upcoming chapters or touched on something that we'd already like been through the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And then like later on with the mother, sister, and the crone stories that we started to get, there was more an explanation of the history of witching through those stories, and we learned a little bit more about how that came to be and why magic is the way it is currently. So they definitely did end up tying in quite a bit.
But I can see how, like, especially towards the start, it's like, what does this have to do with what's happening?
Yeah.
But it does kind of reveal itself more so.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I like this story, but it feels so disjointed just being dropped in there, especially when I'm still trying to get a grip on, what's happening and what the world is. Yeah.
Yeah, the first stories definitely felt a little strange, but once you got used to it and started to see the connections coming up in the story, it made more sense.
Exactly.
It was very poetic.
Yeah. Well, I think I can't think of anything else to discuss as well. Sorry, I was just flicking through some of my very brief annotations. I only started annotating halfway through because I was like, you know what, that was a really good line.
That was a really good line. I will say that I did like their reaction to the last three. I liked their reaction to it being like, oh wait, you're not how I pictured you to be at all.
You're not actually
just
sisters,
kind of like,
and you're kind of from all over the world as well, and you just were drawn to each other.
Yeah, which I really liked because
really
like
interesting.
Yeah, because it kind of like then oh my god, my brain literally just died as I was speaking. But you know when you just speak and then you're just like, I don't know what I was saying. But it also, in a way, it was really good to see that like magic came from so many different parts of the world, and that and despite their like cultural differences and what time period they were from, like they were joined together by like sisterhood and their craft. So I really liked that.
Yeah.
And also,
I mean, like, because like the majority of what we do see is white magic, but it was like planting that little droplet of like, it's more than that. There's so much more to magic and witching than what we see in the West.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting interpretation of Mother Maiden Crone, because normally, like, when that's discussed in our folklore, it's like aspects of one person going through different stages of her life. It's representative of one person in those stages. I really enjoyed that it was 3 different women that have come together because they have a continuous thread, and they feel like they all fill those roles, but in a way that you wouldn't expect. Like for the mother, she was a warrior, she was a fighter, she equated birth as a battle to be won. And I thought there was a really interesting take on that particular trope that I hadn't seen before.
I agree. Oh, which also just reminds me of that that when they meet, also brain dead, when they do meet the 3, and how it went through looping or like mirroring how each of the sisters sees their kind of equivalent within the 3, and relating to a lot of like iconic women throughout history as well, and subverting a lot of like the traditional understandings of the crone, the mother, the maiden, the crone, and showing that it's a lot more complicated than that, more complex.
It's it's so complex, so much more to it than things at face value.
Yeah. Exactly.
A great book club choice, guys. I think it was a good time. I really liked it.
Well, thank you for choosing it, Sophia.
Oh yeah, no, I did choose it. That's right.
I know, you're just like, great choice. I was like, yeah, it was.
I actually forgot that I chose it. On the back.
I genuinely forgot that I chose it until you said, yes, you chose it. I was like, oh yeah, I did. Classic me. Classic.
Just
I know.
A really
It's
quick
really
reminder.
interesting to see what which is steeped in gold, like the way it approaches witchery to this one. So
agreed. And on that topic, I was just going to say, just a reminder for anyone who's joined in late, we are reading Witches Steeped in Gold in May and June. We're having some problems getting books in bookstores in Australia, so we're going to make that a 2-month thing. So that should hopefully give people the time to obtain and read the book. So we'll not have a live show at the end of May. It will be the end of June. When's Piera due? Well, that might be on my channel depending on how she's going.
Oh yeah, when is she due?
She's July. She's
July.
Yeah, July.
Well,
we're fine.
we'll probably she might still be tentative depending on how she's doing towards the end.
Depending how she's doing.
So,
oh my
but
gosh.
we'll announce when and where on the socials
when we know.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to read Steeped in Gold. I'm supposed to start reading it tomorrow for a readathon, so we'll see how I go since I don't have a copy.
I think no spoilers. I might be getting it in the subscription box, so I'm excited.
I am as well, but I'll get that at the end of the month, if not early June.
Yeah, so it's perfect timing. Well, delaying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Delaying it, yes.
Yeah.
I've been.
So what's everyone reading at the moment?
I'm in the middle of a few things. I'm in the middle of Well of Ascension and rereading The Prison Healer, but I'm keeping those on pause because I've got a readathon starting tomorrow, and I think I'm going to start with The House in the Cerulean Sea.
Yay! That's so sweet.
I love that book so much.
I've been meaning to read it for a literal year, and the time has come.
It's such a joyful book. You're gonna have so many warm, fuzzy feelings. It's a good time.
Need it. Yes.
Good time.
It's gonna be a good time, I'm sure.
What
about y'all?
I'm reading Kingdom of Copper. Oh my god, love it. It's so good. I know. I picked it. Yes, of course. I know, because I picked it up and I'm like, I don't remember anything that happened in City of Brass. And then I looked at the recap and it was like this long, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna go in and still good.
Really good. Kingdom of Copper has like a time jump. Kingdom of Copper has that time jump to start off a few years after the end of City of Brass, so that would have been fun. You're like, oh, what's happening?
I know, it was 5 years ahead, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling.
What have I done?
I know,
I love
my
that
gosh,
book.
it's so good. It's
So
so
good. Keep us posted, or keep me. And Rochelle, have you read it? You've read it? No.
Kingdom of Copper?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I've only read the City of Brass book club.
Okay, Jane, keep me posted. Any thoughts?
Yes, the only thing I'm sad about is that I gave it a break between reading the first and the second. But
that's fine.
yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
You'll be fine. I think you'll pick things up.
Plus straight into 3.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes. What I'm reading, I've just started the new Sally Thorne Second First Impressions, which is a really cute rom-com, and I'm excited to read that. And then I recently finished Prison Healer as well. I enjoyed that. I did think it needed content warnings, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I just thought it could have come with some content warnings, but it didn't. And I was like, because I read the proofs, and I was like, and normally, you don't really, in the final copies, like, I don't know if it's in there, but like, it didn't have anything in the proof. So I was like, did not expect. I enjoyed it overall. Like, I thought Lynette Noni did a really great job with it, but like, just some of the stuff I was like, okay, I gotta put that down. I gotta come back to it later. And then what else? I also recently read. What else have I? What have I read? What has? Court of Silver Flames. That does not belong in YA. I'm telling you now. If you see it in a YA section, throw it away. But in the adult section, it's so not YA.
Court of Silver Flames. Court of Silver Flames.
Court of Silver Flames.
Do I need to read A Court of Wings and Ruin? Can I skip it?
No, you can skip it. Or you can even read a recap. You don't have to read book 3. You can skip the novella as well. That's just basically.
Oh yeah.
I
I
will.
don't know. I think he could. I think he could just pick up from this one because it follows
like it's pretty
Cassian anyway.
Yeah, and it's also pretty
and
easy
it's far better
anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that like I finished it in like 2 days, and my brain absolutely broke. I was just like, what? like you know, I walked. It's like I walked out of a den, and I was like, where am I? I don't what just happened? Like in this like 800-page book of absolute porn. Like it was porn and a lot of like fighting. It was like and I was like, where? And I walked out and I was like, where was what? I can't see her. She doesn't exist. I don't know where she is.
I know.
But it was like it's very enjoyable.
I'm back.
You're back.
Hello. Is your brain still hooked on it? Like, you're just constantly jogging over what? I know, you just can't stop. You just can't stop thinking about it.
I'm just like, Cassian is so 2D. Like, I don't care about him at all. I liked Nesta. She was fantastic. But, like, why am I still thinking about this book? Like, I don't understand. Sarah J. Maas, you put drugs in this, I swear.
I know.
It's just drugs.
I know.
I hate it.
I know.
I also really enjoyed it. I hate it, but I really enjoyed it. And I'm just like, God damn it. Yes. But right now I'm reading Sally Thorne, and I will probably pick up Ariadne. I think it's by Jennifer Saint, the retelling, Greek mythology retelling. So keep you guys posted on what that one's like. I think it's good.
Yes,
I've heard people say it's good. Yes, that's me.
I've heard really good things, but I'm just like, I'm hesitant because sometimes Greek retellings can go very poorly.
Yeah, someone told me it's not as good as like obviously Madeline Miller. It's like the queen of Greek mythology retellings. Like she's like, but it's also a debut, and apparently it's really good for a debut. So I'm like, okay, I'm down. We'll do it. We'll vibe it. What are you reading, Rochelle?
I am currently in the middle of the Crimson Campaign by Brian McClellan. That's like a flintlock fantasy, so there's gunpowder and cannons, and it's wild.
It's a thing. Whole thing.
It's a thing. It's like it's a thing. And I recently finished Valor by John Gwynne, which is the second in his first series, and that was a reread because I stopped. Like, I read the first two as they came out, and then I hadn't read the third onwards, and so I'm going to jump into number 3 after I finish Crimson Campaign. I'm very excited.
Ooh. Also, completely unrelated, but someone put up a poll to get help with the TBR for the Breath of the Wild-a-thon between Howl's Moving Castle and Stardust, and I said Howl's Moving Castle.
Bless.
Nice.
Blessed indeed. I really want to read Howl's Moving Castle, actually. And
We
read
read it,
book
though.
club.
Come on.
We did
Yeah.
a book club.
I said reread. Well, I'm not sure if I said it. I
Oh.
meant
I thought
reread.
you said
Right.
read. I was like,
I probably
we did it
you
already.
just said
I
read, and I
thought
was like,
reread. I thought reread.
I was like, did you lie to us the entire book club meeting? You're like, oh yeah, I love this scene. This
No, I
part.
want
And we're
to
like,
reread it
Watch
and then
Christina
continue
reread
reading the
and
books.
just, like, lied through her teeth.
I just watched the movie and pretended that was it because they're identical.
Absolutely.
yes, of course.
Oh,
That's exactly how adaptations go.
yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I have to sit down this afternoon and figure out my TBR for The Breath of the Wind. Gonna do it. Gonna figure it out.
I'm so excited.
Amazing. I'm excited to join as well.
Ooh,
I've got my audiobook
Jade
up.
City.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are
Yes.
ill.
Oh,
Great
Oh my
read.
god.
Love
Oh my
it.
god, wait, I think is Jade Legacy coming out this year? Is it
I
Jade
think-
Legacy out this year?
Is it later in the year or early
god,
next year?
That means like you won't have to wait like the rest of us suckers for the third book.
I should know this.
Wait, let me look on Goodreads.
2021. Yeah, I'm popping on the publisher's website. I can't remember.
Oh, it says
Hold on, let me actually.
publication December. I cry. Jade! Oh my god. Honda.
Why
Oh,
do
it's
you
not even
want
up on
that
our
way?
website. It's not up on the Hachette website yet, like the Australian one.
Okay.
But yeah, November 30th, 2021 is when it's coming out in the UK.
That's
Okay.
too far.
Too
long.
Too long.
The struggles.
Yes,
The
enjoy
struggles of
Jade
being-
City.
Good times, good
Good times.
times.
Good time. And then
You know
come
it's a
talk to us
good
about
book
being
when
you're in.
Yeah, you know it's a good book when someone brings it up and all of us go, yes!
Yeah.
It's like normally there's like one or two who's like, okay. But no, all of us are like, yes!
Did
Beautiful.
Piera like it? I don't know. Did she like Jade City?
I don't think
Did
she
she
was in
read
that
it?
live show.
She
I don't
wasn't at
remember.
the book. She wasn't at the book club. So
Yeah. So
Maybe she didn't read it.
undetermined.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah.
Undetermined. Yes. Okay.
Wow.
Amazing.
Thank you
Awesome.
everyone for joining us. We will see you in a month and a half to talk about Witches Steeped in Gold. But how do I end things? How do I sign off? Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for coming.
She just like
There
leave.
she goes.
Are we
Are we
still
still-
live? Oh my god.
Looks like it.
She's just left and left us live.
That's not how you end it.
We were just like, are we still live? You just like,
That's the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
Good job,
Oh,
proud of
wow.
you.
That
Well
was
done.
a
Professional, right here, guys.
oh, that's so funny.
That's an
Oh,
expert.
I realized as soon as I
blooper.
did it, but I
Beautiful.
was like coming back. Yeah, anyway.
And then it's
I
just
will-
us three being like,
Hello.
Yeah, you deal with it. Oh,
oh my god.
anyway.
Alrighty.
I'll end it properly
Now.
now.
Alrighty.
Cheers. Thanks,